Hi, and thanks for joining me as we all become the best and better version of ourselves. This is a workshop where we focus on and addressing the problem and focusing on the solution. The problem is toxic love, the solution is healthy love, and that's what we're here to do. Thanks for joining me. Come on in. This workshop does last approximately 55 minutes, and thanks for your time. Here's an overview of the agenda: healthy love versus toxic love. This is a 55-minute workshop approximately. We're identifying toxicity versus healthy love. Our purpose is to recognize toxic relationship patterns, understand their origins, and learn practical steps toward healthy, fulfilling relationships. The agenda covers opening intentions, toxic love, what are the patterns for healthy and toxic love, and what are the awareness to action for a healthier love. Closing reflection, our affirmation we will review is I choose relationships that are safe, respectful, and supportive of my growth. Some key truths takeaway are: love should not be painful most of the time, intensity does not intimacy, and healthy love supports growth rather than fear. I chose this prayer and I really loved it for this particular workshop. If you'd like to pray along, feel free to read along and pray with me. Prayer. Higher power, guide me to relationships which will help me realize my potential. I will seek relationships which value me, relationships on an equal level. In turn, I will value my friends. You can also say with me together, I am a loving person. This is from chapter 8, and you can look in the Kindle version on pages 49 through 58 in chapter 8 of Anne Catherine's Fair Use When Misery Loves Company. And we will begin, and we'll start back. It's going to break in different sections. Isolation. Many misery addicts are wonderful friends, and many have some wonderful friends. But letting even their closest friend close is difficult. The isolation experienced by a misery addict is terrible and profound. It is deeper than a well and darker than a cave. Every single misery addict I've worked with longs for intimacy, the way we long for breath. Yet they set themselves up to miss intimacy by filling their spaces with people who don't have it to give. People who are emotionally unavailable, and people with whom intimacy would be a boundary violation, such as therapists and ministers. They've been hurt so deeply in the past that they can't get themselves to risk another try at true intimacy. Their despair and hopelessness, their belief that they'll never get to have what they want, prevents them from putting themselves into situations that would expose them to people who could offer intimacy. Even when intimacy is staring them in the face, they may unknowingly turn a potential connection away. Intimacy is longed for and feared, wanted and avoided. Intimacy is both delicious and terrifying. It's hard for misery addicts to understand that intimacy is a skill like most other things, something that can be learned and developed, like exercising a toe muscle. They are more likely to see intimacy as a prize that is bestowed to a person a lot less deserving than themselves, a medal that is somehow given to people who should have received just honorable mentions. Even with good, trustworthy friends, they are more likely to give than receive, to conceal their deepest feelings and thoughts. They may have trouble asking for help or put on a happy, resilient, or uncaring charade. Now we will look at some features of toxic love. There are 13. 1. Obsession with the relationship. 2. Security, comfort, and sameness. Intensify of need seen as proof of love, or intensity of need seen as proof of love. They may really be fearful or insecure or have feelings of loneliness. Fear, insecurity, and loneliness are feelings. That is not a description. Number 3, total involvement, limited social life, neglect old friends and old interests. These are signs of a toxic love. 4, preoccupation with others' behavior, fear of other changing. 5, jealousy, possessiveness, fear of competition, protects their supply. 6, power plays for control, blaming, passive or aggressive manipulation. 7, trying to change others to their own image. 8, relationship is based on delusion and avoidance of the unpleasant. 9, expectation that one partner will fix and rescue the other. 10, fusion. That is, being obsessed with each other's problems and feelings. 11, pressure around sex due to insecurity, fear, and need for immediate gratification. 12, unable to endure separately or separating or clinging. 13, cycling of pain and despair. This is a short list, I'm pretty sure there are more, of signs that it's a potential toxic relationship. And these are some things that I think that when I made this list, was pretty much based on some things I had experienced as well. Now let's get into the 13 signs that you might be getting into a healthy relationship. Number 1, development of self is first priority. Number 2, there is room to grow, expand, and the desire for your significant other to grow. Number 3, there are separate interests. You have other friends and maintain other meaningful relationships. Number 4, encouragement of each other's expanding is secure and you're securing your own worth. Number 5, you have appropriate trust, such as trusting a partner to behave according to fundamental nature. Number 6, you compromise, negotiate, or taking time at leading problem solving together. Now I'm going to stop on that one, because when I think about compromise, that means you're telling me to stop doing, like, being myself in order to make someone else happy. So I think we need to get that real clear. Compromise does not mean you be fake or be somebody who you're not. What it's saying is, let's say I want to go eat at the steakhouse and he wants to eat at Golden Corral. Now, that's what I'm talking about with compromise, because I might want what I want when I want it. And so either he can compromise and say, well, let's go eat at the steak today and we eat at Golden Corral tomorrow, or vice versa. That's what, to me, compromise means. As far as my personality, I am not compromising, okay? I'm going to keep being me, and they're going to know ahead of time that if you don't like the way I am, then you may exit as you entered immediately. Okay. 7, embracing each other's individuality. 8, relationship deals with all aspects of reality. 9, self-care by both partners. Emotional state is not dependent on others' mood. 10, loving detachment, such as a healthy concern about your partner while letting go. 11, sex is free choice, growing out of caring and friendship. 12, the ability to enjoy being alone. And 13, the cycle of comfort and contentment, where everybody's happy and everybody wins. We will now look at some diagnosis, signs, cues, and triggers of 3 areas that except schizophrenia, I did not have that. So even when I say that I had people I loved that I didn't understand, these were like things that people were going through, even the depression and the mania with me, recovering from bipolar. And so I want to make it clear what bipolar is. It is, people say, well, she's bipolar, he's bipolar. That is an adjective. A bipolar is a result, okay? So, and that is like emotions. It has to do with feeling really, really happy. That's the mania, which mania is not necessarily negative. People may experience that and may not have a diagnosis. The diagnosis is a scientific, educated guess based off of the DSM-5. Okay, so sometimes people may experience mania, like maybe going gambling. They may not realize that they're experiencing mania. So then now they've lost everybody's rent money for the house. They don't have any money. This is a trigger for a toxic relationship. This is my example. Or maybe somebody's really, really depressed. And they could be depressed, turning to anger. Depression comes after anger. So somebody's angry with people that they have not expressed that anger to. Now they're taking it out on themselves. Okay, so these are things that could contribute to a toxic relationship where the spouse may really love them and they may be trying to bring them to make them happy, but it's bringing them down. And now the anxiety, some people who are schizophrenic may not have anxiety. They may be hearing voices. And that schizophrenia could be either two ways, substance abuse or potentially there could be some genetic factor, but not all schizophrenia is a inherited trait. It could be brought on by someone smoking or doing cocaine, smoking drugs, cocaine, or anything like that. So that kind of, and then when a person is high, they may be acting like really weird or overly sexual, and so this could bring on toxicity if they're being promiscuous. So let's get into this really quickly. We're going to look at, like I said, the 3 diagnoses, the signs for each one, and the triggers. Like I said, the first diagnosis is depression. Some signs of depression could be anxiety, isolation, crying, fatigue. Some cues that could make that person, and again, these are just some notes that I had, and as I'm recovering, is sadness. Their heart could be racing, like they feel like heartbroken or something like that. Those are just some particular cues that could make them depressed. They may feel overwhelmed, numb. They may feel like I don't feel like doing anything, or they could be shocked from something. It could be a death in their family. They may feel irritable, or they may feel like sweating where they they just feel like, oh God, I just feel so tired, or it could be anything. But these are just some notes that I put on for depression, or some cues that I'm sharing with you all. Some triggers for depression could be they just may not feel like being spontaneous, So let's say somebody says, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, and they're saying no, they may feel like, oh, I can never fit in because I'm not spontaneous. Loneliness, traumatic events, lack of finances, rejection, guilt feelings, lack of spontaneity. These are some things that can contribute to a toxic relationship. So let's look at the next diagnosis. There are many diagnoses, but these are just the 3 that stuck out the most to me, that I really wanted to learn about and needed to, that affected me the most. And again, like I said, the schizophrenia was not me, but there were people that I knew, or people that had it, and I didn't understand it, and I really wanted to understand it better instead of judging them. So anxiety schizophrenia is the next diagnosis, and again, not all people have anxiety or schizophrenic, and vice versa, okay? Or recovering from schizophrenia. As a certified peer specialist, we say recovering. We don't label people. Labeling is not necessarily disabling. If we have juicy juice and spick and span, they're both apple green. If they're not labeled, one is poison and one is actual juice that you drink that's supposed to be healthy for us. So let's look at this diagnosis of anxiety and schizophrenia. A sign could be manic behavior. Now, this is where we want to really, and I would really urge you to Google or look up the word manic versus mania, and let's look it up right. Because we want to get accurate and see what. I always like to ask Meta AI. What is the difference between the terms manic and mania when it occurs with bipolar?
In the context of bipolar disorder, manic and mania refer to similar experiences, but they're used slightly differently. Mania typically describes a distinct period of abnormally elevated or irritable mood that lasts at least a week. Manic symptoms can include increased energy, reduced need for sleep, and impulsive behaviors. The term manic is often used more broadly to describe the symptoms or characteristics of mania. For example, someone might exhibit manic behavior or have a manic episode. Both terms are important for understanding and discussing bipolar disorder, but mania usually refers to the specific episode or condition, while manic describes the symptoms or behaviors associated with it.
So manic looks like that's an episode. Let me scroll down, make sure I'm saying it right. So manic describes symptoms, and mania refers to episodes. Okay, so we had to make that very clear on the difference between someone who is experiencing, what did it say? An episode. Okay, so let me see. Let's look and find out what are some, let's go over the behaviors, and then we're going to kind of go over some more about mania to understand it a little bit more, because I want to understand this as well and make sure that I'm clear and giving accurate information to the best of my ability. So let's look up some signs and behaviors of someone who may be in an episode of mania. Constant work, shopping, decreased need for sleep, increased activity. Like I said, it's not necessarily, it doesn't appear to be negative, but it can be negative, because if I'm not planning and I'm like, oh, I want to take a trip, and I may have $3,000 in my pocket to take the trip. I might not even know where I'm going. I'm just going to get on the train. I'm not planning. I'm not doing no research about it. That would be considered me being in a manic episode, or be in mania, experiencing some mania. So let's look at some cues that cues that let me know I'm possibly experiencing some mania. These are things that if they're not, in my opinion, they're not addressed, that can contribute to toxic relationship. Euphoria, energetic, feeling powerful. There's sleeplessness. They don't want to go to sleep. Racing thoughts, heart racing, claustrophobic. So if I'm feeling like euphoric, I'm going to ask Meta AI so we can make sure these are correct. Define euphoria.
Euphoria is a state of intense happiness or excitement, often characterized by feelings of elation, confidence, and heightened well-being. In some cases, it can be associated with manic episodes in bipolar disorder, but it can also be a normal response to positive events or experiences. Euphoria is typically marked by an exaggerated sense of joy or satisfaction that might not be proportionate to the situation.
Like I said, that is some cues. I'm going to wrap this one up real quick. And so let's look at some triggers. What are some things that could trigger me, like if I'm feeling manic? Like I said, it doesn't always appear to be negative. Most of the time, it never appears to be negative. It appears to be very positive. So to me, mania can be kind of hard to spot sometimes. But what are some things that would trigger me? A positive situation. I'm going to talk about this real quickly, and then I'm going to finish, and then I'll talk about it. So new or interesting opportunities, lack of structure or scheduling, or emotional stress. For instance, something that could trigger mania with me, it could be like if I won the lottery. I'm going shopping. I could think of everything I could buy. If I don't have a plan ahead. Again, to me, the key word is not planning would let me know that I'm usually having a manic or mania. I'm in an episode of mania. And again, too, how do I deal with this? And again, we're talking about healthy versus toxic. And I think it's really important to not only address the problem, but try to see, what about myself? What if my significant other, maybe, what if they're having some things I'm saying, but I'm learning today to really work on me. So if my significant other says, well, I need, could you help me? If you see me doing something, I'm going to probably say, well, let's work on this now. So when you see it, I can help them, they help themselves. But I'm going to be honest with them. I'm not going to do this on a regular basis. You're going to have to really try to get you together. That way I'm not enabling them, because I don't want them to be dependent on me. I do want to help them, but I want to feed them for a lifetime. But let's work on this for 10 minutes. That will boost them for a lifetime of work on themselves. So I'm going to say, when I feel like that, I had to ask myself, hold up, did I plan on where I'm going to spend this money, and like how long I want to keep this money? Or even if it's a new job or a date. Dates really trigger mania, because I get excited. I'm like, somebody's interested. And then I might make a bad decision to let's be honest, a lot of people, they will sleep with the person. And this is my past, and regret it. So it's really important to recognize, and that makes a toxic relationship. So people, they'll meet someone, they don't may even realize that they're feeling manic. They may even take a drink to try to make themselves feel better, And so we have to recognize, well, what do I do? The question most people never ask, well, what do I do if I'm manic? I want to take a drink. Okay, so this is what I think. This is just me, Felicia. If I want to take an alcoholic drink, get a mocktail instead. Talk to myself and say, hold up, you're worthy of not hurting your liver, because alcohol will eventually, it messes up the liver. I'm worthy to be I'm worthy to not be intoxicated. I love myself. I don't need to put myself at risk for anyone to try to take advantage of me. So with that being said, I'm finishing up this part, and thank you so much. Okay, these are some relationship vocabulary I thought was really interesting for me to look at the words alter, comfort, reconcile. Let's go over those three. So alter, this is a positive spiritual program. This doesn't have to be like anything like spiritual. You can have within my spirit a place where I just meditate. My bed within my mind, that's my altar. It doesn't have to be anything spooky or anything like that. Just I'm altering my to something better. So let's look at the word altar, because I was looking at the two words. I was like, wow, when I was in the church, we used to go to the altar to get to become a better version of myself. So the word alter and versus altar. AR ending is a place. ER, it's a verb. It said to make, the ER means to make different without changing into something else, to become different, to adjust for a better fit, cause a transformation, transform, or reshape. Okay, comfortable. Let's look at the word comfortable and comfort. And we're talking about toxic versus healthy. So let's look at what does comfortable mean. Adequate, agreeable, easy, serene, contented, undisturbed, at ease, producing mental comfort, release, pleasant, easy, please, satisfactory. A comforter, that's a noun. A friend or a pacifier. So now we have to be careful, because it can be, I think these are neutral words. Sometimes when you're in a relationship, we can get too comfortable if it's negative. Of course, we want to be in a positive. I think that's, when I say we, I'm just saying in general. I think pretty much, if I took a survey, pretty much everybody wants to be in a happy, healthy relationship where they're comfortable. Someone they could probably, I'm just saying on average, where they can come to, this is my place of comfort. This is someone that is worthy, they have proven themselves to be worthy of trust. I didn't just, I took my time to get to know them. They have proven themselves, okay? That's my comforter, but of course, I want to put my higher power first. Is my first comforter. And so my higher power lets me know, because if I put my trust in people, I may end up getting disappointed. So let's look at the word reconcile. To make peace, make up, restore harmony. Now, sometimes we can't reconcile some relationships. Some relationships, even if we want to, or even if I want to restore or reconcile, some things just cannot. Sometimes reconcile means to let it go. Sometimes reconcile means thank you for all the lessons you taught me, and thank you, and have a happy life. I will. Sometimes I have to cut people off quickly, and that's my way of reconciling for me. Everybody reconciles differently. Let's look at the next two words, enable or enabler. Now, the word enable can be both a positive and a negative. I'm going to give my definition. I'm going to read it. Enable can mean to help them get better, or to actually hinder someone. So this is the terms it says. Enabling is a term used to describe doing something for someone that they are capable of doing for themselves. That's when it's negative, okay? So like if someone is needing a place to stay, you might be enabling them if they're over 18, okay? By not, like for instance, there are some people that are good friends that say, well, I'll let you stay for a week or two, but you're gonna have to have a plan. To me, that's healthy, because I've had times where I needed some help, And I didn't want anybody to enable me, but they weren't going to allow me to be enabled either. So I wanted to make sure, I'll make it clear to them, I just need a month or I just need 2 weeks. And I'll probably be out way before then. But if you could just, and some people are not going to do that. Some people, they want to nest or to be a leech. So the bottom line is an enabler, and this is where we're going to read this. An enabler is a person who, by their actions, make it easier for an addict to continue their self-destructive behavior by criticizing or rescuing. So, for instance, someone who is not trying, again, it could be many reasons why they're not. They may not have the mental capacity because they may not have the tools. Now, why don't they not have the tools? Maybe they didn't want the tools. Maybe they had the opportunity to get the tools and they said no to the tools, or maybe they did not have they did not have the resources to get tools. It could be many things. Okay, so the enabler is like, well, you can stay with me forever, or I'll keep paying your bills, or I won't tell you the truth about the relationship you're in. I'm just gonna listen and let you harm yourself. To me, that is an enabler. So addiction, it means using something you think is good for you. That's really not. Webster's dictionary said it's a persistent compulsive dependency. Okay, so then that makes an addict. So it's one who abandons himself. And so these are some things that can contribute to a toxic relationship. And knowing these things, to me, I think it will help me have a healthier relationship so that I can identify past problems where I said, no, this has got me in trouble. I'm not going to do this no more. No. So thank you. Now we will talk about some things that are very global problems that are very common. Codependency and codependent relationship. So codependency is defined as a psychological condition or a relationship in which a person is controlled or manipulated by another who is affected with the pathological condition. It refers to the dependence on the needs of or control of another. It also involves placing a lower priority on one's own needs of others. They may be characterized by denial, low self-esteem, excessive compliance, control patterns, and they set themselves up as victims. So, codependent relationship, it means making the relationship more important to you than you are to yourself. It's a one-sided relationship. Codependent relationships keep people from living the full, rewarding lives that they could be enjoying. And there are several things that let you kind of see that, and they're A through I. A, the partner has trouble controlling their impulses. The person tries to fix all the problems. The partner is self-absorbed or uninterested. The theme is a sense of control. They try to prove their strength. They say to themselves, no one will want me, therefore I have to put up with this. Symptoms of dysfunction. Believing that someone else has the power to make us happy, or they set up another human being as the higher power. So codependence relationship or codependency for me is one major word is control. Now, a person can be controlled through tears. To me, that's a passive form of control. But it's, I need $500. If I don't get $500, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Now they're manipulating. That's the part that, to me, that's a manipulative form of control. Another form could be aggressive. So it could be many different ways. In this short workshop, these are just some simple signs. Well, not simple signs, but these are just, to me, basic signs of codependency. Another big sign that a person is in a codependent relationship is when they break up, get back together, break up, get back together, break up, get back together. That is not for me. I got that from the book called, I believe, Love is a Choice, or I think it's The Search for Significance. I cannot think of the author name, but those come from there. Now let's look at toxic people. The definition. They affect you negatively. Any negative impact on the other, either physically, mentally, spiritually, financially, or emotionally. Draining. They live by feeding off of your good virtue. You're left feeling battered and or emotionally drained. They will rob you of your life if you allow them. They complain constantly. They might gossip uncontrollably, will put you down, projects a lot of the anger, extremely sensitive, mostly defensive, very controlling, very jealous, very manipulative. They're joy and dream killers. They're insecure and very disrespectful. These are just some signs to let you know that you're dealing with a toxic person. And again, this was my definition. These are just some notes I got as well. Thank you. Now we're going to take a look on why. This is just, again, my opinion on why some people, and even myself, have become toxic. And these are called thought distortions or automatic thoughts or thought distortions. There are 13, and I'm pretty sure there are a lot more, but this is just probably a short list of many. But these are, to me, some of the most important. So I'm going to list them. Assuming, shoulds, must, ought. 3, the fairy tale fantasy, all or nothing thinking, overgeneralizing, labeling, dwelling on the negative, rejecting the positive, unfavorable comparisons, catastrophizing, personalizing, blaming, making feelings facts. Now, I just wanted to make a list of these. There are definitions on what they are. Maybe I can do a quick breakdown. Assuming. So what would make the toxic relationship of assuming? Someone sees me, my husband might see me talking to a man laughing. He might assume that I'm having an affair. The shoulds. The dishes aren't washed. Maybe every night the dishes weren't washed. I tell my husband, you should have washed the dishes. You must wash dishes as I want you to do it. You ought to be a better person, a better dad. These are shoulds. Okay, that does not mean that it's not the truth of the whole situation. I'm just saying these are, just thinking these thoughts like he should be a better person, or I should be given more. I should be washing his clothes, or I should be cutting his steak. Okay, fairy tale fantasy. This is a big struggle of mine because I love to fantasize. Where I meet the person. Oh, we're gonna be together. I see us married, 5 kids, horse and carriage. That is a thought distortion that can make it toxic, because if that person isn't meeting what I want, then now they're like, why is she treating me like this? But it's not them, it's me that I need to realize I'm having a fantasy, which is nothing wrong with, to a certain extent. I don't think fantasy is just recognizing this is not real. I don't need to have any expectation. Okay, so all or nothing thinking. Now I've struggled with this as well. It's either we get married next week or you can go. And that's hard for me to really work through, but I'm getting there, overgeneralizing. So this is something I hate when people do. Now I try my best not to, but like if some guys have had a toxic relationship with one woman, they may say, well, all women are evil, or if vice versa, if a woman has had a toxic relationship with a man, she'll say all men are evil. That is a thought distortion, because that's truly not true. Labeling. Now, I definitely, to some extent, it's not negative to label, but sometimes I have to label because it helps me. But like I would say mislabeling. Let's say if I say, well, all guys are just evil. Okay, that right there, I do consider that a thought distortion, because that's not true. Just like it's not true that all women are evil. Label and say, well, all women are evil. 7, dwelling on the negative. One major thing that I cannot get over is if a man leaves the commode seat up. I'm like, look, we need you to, take that seat down, and I'm like, you got to go. And that's something I got to work through, because I just can't. There's like a deal breaker for me. But it possibly is a thought distortion. Rejecting the positive. So let's say the guy has good intentions, truly good intentions, and he wants to give me a hug. I'm like, you know what? I don't know you. Don't touch me. And he may not mean anything, but I'm just like, I have to protect me. But that doesn't necessarily mean I'm not wrong either, because that person may appear to have that. So I'm saying, or it could be, the bottom line is looking at the person's intention versus someone, intention. That's what I look at. So I'm working through that too. Rejecting the positive. Unfavorable comparisons. I don't like people comparing me, you know. And if like let's say I had a boyfriend who used to compare me with other women and be like, if you were a little bit smaller like her, but that's a deal breaker. You gotta go, because if that's who you want, goodbye. Next, I don't need to be hurting myself. You know, to me, he was having a thought distortion. I didn't like that. You know, or you know, it could be vice versa. Like, oh, if he was a little bit more like him, you know, or this, that, and the other, then I would be better. And you know, instead of just accepting each person as they are. Catastrophizing, like I said, that toilet seat, that's a catastrophe. Because if I fall through that, come on, I'm gonna feel upset. Okay, I'm working through. Y'all bear with me. Personalizing, oh, I have an issue with that too. You know, and I'm a work in progress. You know, like if somebody takes time for someone else to listen, they don't listen to me. I take that very, very personal. I do, because I'm like, listen, that's not fair and it's not right. And so what I've learned though is that doesn't mean that they were right in what they did, because they may have had some intention with that. If I don't like it, like they said, one time it's a coincidence, two times it's a mistake, three times that's a pattern. So if they've done it three times, that means they gotta go. I don't have to try to change them or manipulate them to do anything, but that's not acceptable. So I'm gonna stay away from that person. Making blaming, you know, trying to even blame myself, like, oh, I'm never good at anything, I always make mistakes, or if I'd have just did this, then this would have worked out, you know, instead of just looking at the facts, like, you know, and I could have did something that might have contributed, but blaming, it could be even just again, this is a touchy one, because I would have to go more in detail, but it is considered thought distortion. I just think it depends on how it's done. You know, if I blamed all men, if men were in the world, then I wouldn't have any problem. I'm just giving that example. That's not true, but I'm just saying that's a thought distortion. So making feelings facts. Now, I believe that feelings, they are warnings for me. No, they're not facts, but that means, like, if I feel depressed, it doesn't mean I'm depressed. I may just be feeling depressed at that moment. So thank you. Now we're continuing the reading from Anne Catherine's book. Ingrid, who had a brilliant mind, protected herself from disappointment by never asking for what she wanted. During Ingrid's childhood, when she and her siblings made their Christmas lists and hung them on the fridge, Ingrid's list bore no resemblance to her true desires. Then, when her family overruled her choices, it didn't hurt. She didn't get what she didn't want. Of course, she didn't get what she did want either, but she had come up with a way to make the hurt less personal. If she didn't ask, she couldn't be hurt when they didn't do it. Unfortunately, this system has evolved into a way of life for the adult Ingrid. She still doesn't ask. Half the time, she doesn't know what she wants. She decorates her house based on what an imaginary, I believe that's the next word, imaginary mate might like. She goes to the restaurant you like. Her friendships are based on what she does for others. Her parties center around her friends' interests. As you can guess, this sets up a system by which her friends disregard her. She's invisible to them. They think she's a mirror. On the rare occasion she really wants to do something, her friends cancel. They aren't used to directing their attention to her, so they don't take her few requests seriously. She is surrounded by a group of people who treat her exactly the way her family treated her. The center of the party. Ingrid is unbearably lonely. Two things are needed for intimacy: astute judgment about who can connect and the skills that nurture. Connection. Misery addicts often have neither. A host of behaviors can work against intimacy. Many of these are the routine repertoire of a misery addict. Both of Paloma's parents were critical. Her father's abusiveness came from anger. Her mother's hurtful comments arose from fear. Anger is intrusive, but fear is quiet. So between the two parents, Paloma turned more to her mother. She loved her mother deeply, and her way of entering intimacy with her was to experience her feelings for her. Her mother had lost a lot in her life, but she never grieved it. Paloma grieved on her mother's behalf over and over. When anger was ruling Paloma's father, which was most of the time, he acted in ways that were abusive. For example, when Paloma was slow to eat a vegetable she didn't like, he dumped a bowl of vegetables on her head. Paloma had a slight margin of safety when her mother was around. Her mother didn't stop her husband from his abuse, but she would sometimes offer Paloma comfort afterward. One week, Paloma was left home while her mother went to a distant city to tend a sick relative. Paloma doesn't remember what happened during that week, but something terrible did, something involving her father. We don't know what her father was capable of when no one but Paloma was witnessing him. We can only excavate possibilities from the associations Paloma carries now. Here are the artifacts. When the possibility of true intimacy is offered Paloma, she gets sick. She has a powerful aversion to being close to someone she loves. When someone she loves offers connection, her thoughts get intensely focused on someone who has no commitment to her, someone who is obsessed with someone else. She hates to be home. When she is home, she loses all her energy. She has a lot of shame about her body. While we can't know the specifics, it's clear that during her childhood, someone she loved hurt her terribly. That this happened in her home and that an indelible link formed between being close to a loved one and being terribly hurt. Today, as an adult, she protects herself by avoiding intimate moments and curtailing intimate opportunities, and her body helps her stay away from these opportunities through sickness. Intimacy involves risk. Sometimes the risk doesn't work out. When that happens, we have to be able to survive it. We have to be able to pick ourselves up and go on. For a misery addict, the risk is usually too great. Implicit memory expects intimacy to cause devastation, precisely because failed intimacy is perceived as life-threatening. So the misery addict simply wards off intimacy time after time. Love is not supposed to be painful. There is pain involved in any relationship, but if it's painful most of the time, then something is not working. Expectations set us up to be victims and cause us to abandon ourselves in search of our goals. See relationships not as goals, but as opportunities for growth. Now let's go back to expectations, unrealistic expectations. It is okay to have a realistic expectation. So for instance, in a standard, if my standard is I only want to be with a man who has owns a business or is good with his finances, that's my standard. Now, let's say I meet a nice guy. He's really nice. He doesn't know how to keep up his finances, but he's a very nice gentleman. Well, obviously, he doesn't meet my standard, so I can't expect him to uphold to that standard, because if I do, I'm going to be disappointed and angry with him. I've been there. So that's what it means. It's unrealistic expectations. It's unrealistic for me to choose someone who does not meet the standard, or who is not equipped to do the standard that I like. Because my expectation, if you want to come in my life, my expectation is, a realistic expectation is, I'm going to uphold my standard. Okay, so let's look, because this is really deep, I think, and really tender area. If I hire someone to fix computers, and I say, I'm hiring you based on the expectation and standards, this is what is required. If you don't meet them, you're fired. It's real simple. I'm trying to, a more professional term may be terminated, excused. The bottom line is you're not going to be here anymore. So my thing is, if I can't do surgery on you, if I don't have the qualifications, and you say, well, I want you, but I want a woman who does surgery, you're going to be very disappointed, because I cannot meet that expectation. But if you marry a surgeon and that's what you want, well, now you don't have to have an expectation, because it's not unrealistic. So that's what I meant by expectation. We're talking about unrealistic, not realistic expectation. We're going to move on. So we're going to look at the 3 acronyms of pain, fear, and halt. Pain says, pay attention inward now. Fear, false evidence appearing to be real. There are other acronyms for fear, but this is just something that I wanted to share with y'all. And also halt, never be too what? Hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. I think these are some good things that help us have better, healthier relationships. And also, love is a skill, a feeling, an attitude. It wants what's best for everybody. Love has 2 principles. 1, everyone was created to love and be loved. And 2, everyone needs affirming to feel self-worth. Now, we have to be mindful of the codependency. Because I know with me, I felt that same way, but I was codependent. So I think you have to have a balance to know, well, wait a minute. You know, you do deserve to be loved and be loved. But if you ain't love me back, baby, as much as you deserve to be loved, I'm going to let you be loved over there. Because that's not gonna be a good fit for here. Regardless of whether you need love or not, it's not a good fit. I'm gonna love you while you stay over there. Okay, seriously. And that I gotta love myself enough to say, you know, as much as I love them, love is not enough. And sometimes the best way for me to love them is to say, I'm gonna love you with a long handled spoon. And I'm still loving them. I don't necessarily have to be around them. And I can affirm them and say, hey, you're a good person over there. Thank you. In this clip, we will discuss barriers to the core self. These were some issues I found with myself. Your list may be a little longer, or some of these may not apply to you, or some people may be able to relate to the barriers that I myself was experiencing. The first one was worrying about what other people think. The second, feeling overwhelmed. Next, distractions. Next, not focusing on myself. Focusing on others and other things. People pleasing. Doubting myself. Confusion. Not working on myself. Stinking thinking. Trying to solve other people's problems. Not taking care of myself. That meant hygiene as well as emotional, psychological, or all of the other needs where everybody wins. Being in my illness. Being codependent. That is a very wide category, and it is a very common issue globally. At the time, suicidal thinking, inner pressure, competition, and jealousy could be with other people being jealous of me, which I never really found myself being jealous of other people as well, but that could be a barrier to the core self if anyone has that. And I've noticed that like a long time ago when I was a teen, but now I understand that jealousy is actually hidden admiration. Being unfocused as well were some barriers that I was able to recognize, were some barriers to my core self. The following is some information that I received in my therapy, and I want to share with you on how I have learned to deal with toxic people. This is my list. Let go. A. B. Refocus and reinforce good qualities. What you focus on manifests. C. Be mindful. Don't let people in your business. Again, this is my list for me. D. Therapy. E. Be assertive. F. Seek peace and love. And G. Communication, which mostly involves me listening actively to what is being said. There are plenty of other resources to find out other ways people have dealt with people who had toxic traits or toxic energy. That's what I call it. But I just wanted to share my list. And again, thank you so much for being here and your time. We have now reached the end of our workshop. And I am so grateful that you took time out to come with me along with my recovery journey. So as I end this workshop and we end this workshop, headed toward our next level in our wonderful recovery journey, I have to make sure my hair is looking good. Let's pray out. And I'm going to use the prayer I began with that I chose that I thought was really wonderful. Higher power, guide me to relationships which help me realize my potential. I will seek relationships which value me, relationships on an equal level. In turn, I will value my friends. Again, thank you for sharing your time and your space with me and our recovery journey. Have a happy evening. Positive energy, as I am the Buddhist tarot reader as well. Positive energy, Nam Myo Renge Kyo. Thank you so much. Have a happy day and a happy everything.